Discover Miriam's incredible journey, 3 miraculous acts of divine faith, downfall, and redemption. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, in the land of Egypt where the sun bore heavy upon the skin of the weary, Miriam knelt upon the bank of the Nile. Her heart raced with an unshakable resolve, for there, cradled within a woven basket upon the water, lay her infant brother Moses, hidden as a precious secret from Pharaoh's deadly decree. The golden rays of the sun kissed the surface of the river, dancing upon the soft ripples as if heaven itself awaited the outcome of this divine act. At the tender age of a child, Miriam comprehended the gravity of her family's plight, shackled by the yoke of slavery, yet burdened by a desperate hope for deliverance. Amidst the whispers of the reeds, she concealed herself, fervently imploring the God of her forefathers. "Jehovah," she whispered, "please protect this child, for he is destined for a purpose beyond my understanding." Wrapped in faith, she felt each wave flutter against her heart, her love intertwined with hopes of divine intervention. Suddenly, the daughter of Pharaoh approached, her servants trailing like shadows, unaware that the child she would embrace was destined to shatter the chains of their lineage. Miriam's pulse quickened as the moment of revelation unfolded, woven into the tapestry of God's providence. In an act of audacious courage, she stepped forth, recounting the trust she harbored for God's plan while boldly offering to nurse the infant. Under the gaze of heaven, Miriam's destiny entwined with that of her brother, a leader set to liberate their people from the bonds of oppression. Years passed, and the time came when their exodus from Egypt erupted in fervent glory. The waters of the Red Sea parted at the command of God, creating a path of salvation, while the mighty chariots of Pharaoh met their end beneath the crashing waves. Miriam's spirit ignited with a blaze of remembrance and triumph. She seized the moment, lifting her voice to lead the women of Israel in jubilant song. "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously." The air quaked with joy, not merely a celebration of victory, but an acknowledgement of Yahweh's steadfast fidelity to his covenant people. She stood as prophetess, the community's heart, channeling worship that stirred the heavens. Yet within her spirit a tempest brewed. Jealousy slithered in, causing her heart to betray her. Doubts of Moses' leadership snaked into her thoughts, and alongside Aaron she dared to speak against him, their words casting shadows upon unity. Confronted by God's wrath, Miriam was stricken with leprosy, a visible symbol of her sin, isolating her from the camp. The ache of shame flooded her, the sting of disobedience heavy upon her heart. As she remained distant from her kin, longing for restoration, she pondered, would she be healed? Would God's mercy extend to her, or had she been forsaken? The faith that once propelled her forward now wavered, casting her into divine silence. She could only gaze toward her family, blanketed in melodies of worship, the echoes of their praises a haunting reminder of her fall. How might redemption arise from this deep chasm? What divine plans lingered within the silence, waiting to reveal their glory? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey. I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now, let's continue with what the Lord did next. The winds of divine grace began to stir as Miriam's heart wrestled with its burdens. Hope flickered like a candle, weaving a path toward redemption. Would she dare to trust the God who filled her past with miracles, even now amid her sorrow? Each heartbeat echoed the promise that God had not forgotten her. As time unfolded, the answer would emerge, illuminating the dark corners of her doubt. The tapestry of her life was being woven anew, each thread a testament of God's enduring love and His unstoppable plan. The silence held the promise of a divine resolution, one that would restore not only her body, but her very spirit, rekindling the fire of faith she thought lost forever. As days turned to weeks, Miriam lingered in her isolation, her heart illuminated by the flickering light of hope, yet overshadowed by the shadows of her sin. The camp around her thrived under the leadership of her brother, who bore the weight of a nation upon his shoulders. Each sunrise, a reminder of her missteps, awakened her yearning for reconciliation, a longing deeper than the earthly waters that separated her from her kin. In the stillness of her despair, Miriam remembered the words spoken to her by the Lord through her mother, who whispered tales of Yahweh's promises, the God who sees, the God who hears, and the God who saves. Each promise echoed in her mind, mingled with an aching desire for forgiveness. "Have mercy on me, O God," she pondered, imitating the cries of David of old, "according to your steadfast love. According to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions." Then, one bright morning, the cloud of her suffering was interrupted. Aaron, her brother, approached the outskirts of her isolation, carrying with him a message of hope. He drew near, eyes softened with compassion, and spoke words that were both heavy and life-giving. "Miriam, the Lord has heard our pleas. Moses has interceded on your behalf." In that instant, a tide surged within her, a mixture of fear and hope tangled like vines over her heart. As Aaron continued, her longing to be whole ignited with a flicker of possibility. "God commands you to return. Your healing is upon you." The very air thickened with the weight of divine promise, and with a trembling heart, Miriam obeyed. She ventured into the camp, her presence announcing not only her restoration, but a testament to the unfathomable grace of God that renewed the broken. As she stepped forward, the scars of her sin were unveiled, yet she felt the warmth of acceptance envelop her like a shield. "Behold, the Lord has cleansed you," Aaron exclaimed, a mixture of joy and awe in his voice. "Your leprosy is gone, for he desires you to stand in the midst of his chosen people." With exhilaration mingled with reverence, Miriam now understood. Her voice would again resonate within the congregation of the faithful. Yet, even in her restoration, she carried the lessons learned in the silence. "How deep is your mercy, O Lord," she sang, lifting her hands toward heaven. And as she joined the chorus of praise that once again surrounded her, she saw the faces of her people, torn by struggles but united in light. In that throng, she recognized a truth that had escaped her in her pride. God's love for His people surpasses the failings of even the most beloved. Yet, amidst the jubilation, the air trembled with a looming mystery. Could it be that her redemption was not merely for her own restoration, but a part of a greater plan in the vastness of God's divine economy? For as the sounds of celebration filled the camp, the shadows whispered still. God's unfolding promise would reach far beyond the borders of Egypt, threading through destinies yet untold. What more would He unveil as the journey continued? And who among them would fulfill His ancient prophecies of deliverance? The heart of Miriam stirred with a newfound sense of destiny, for she understood restoration held keys to a brighter future awaiting to blossom. The rhythm of God's sovereign plan thrummed resiliently, inviting all to witness what He would craft in the coming days. As the festive songs of rejoicing echoed across the camp, a new harmony began to take shape in the hearts of the people. They swayed in unison, embodying the essence of a nation set free, proclaiming the faithfulness of Yahweh, whose hand stretched vast and mighty over their journey. Miriam, now restored, clasped her brother's arm tightly, and together they began to walk through the throng of joyous worshipers. With every step she took, she felt the warmth of their acceptance wash over her like a beautiful tide. She turned her gaze towards the multitude, their faces alive with hope and faith. The very essence of their unity struck her heart, stirring deep within her a conviction that her recovery was a new chapter in the legacy of her family. "Moses," she called out, her voice breaking through the revelry. As their eyes met, Moses, the great leader and chosen mediator, cast his eyes gently upon his sister. "I see you, Miriam," he affirmed, "and I rejoice with you in the mercies of the Lord." Yet Miriam felt the burden of her past still clinging to her like the dusty robes she wore. "But what must I do now?" she implored, searching his face for the divine purpose. The weight of her sins reminded her of the chasm that had once existed between her and her family, now filled with grace, yet still requiring understanding. "Miriam," Moses replied, "your return is more than mere healing. It is a call to lead as you once did, to lift the songs of burdened hearts. The Lord places before you a mission anew, a command to awaken the spirits of our people." With renewed vigor, she embraced the words, sensing the gravity of her calling. The Lord had restored her not just for her own sake, but for the sake of the nation. She was to be a voice among the voices, a reminder that even in brokenness there is hope. "Is it not written," she recalled, "that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted?" Psalm 34:18. As the sun set behind them, casting long shadows upon the ground, Moses raised his arms, and the assembly grew hushed, awaiting his next command. "Hear me, O Israel! Our journey has just begun. The Lord will lead us forth into the wilderness, where he shall reveal his strength and sharpen our faith." The people responded with a loud chorus of affirmation, their faith ignited anew. Yet a flicker of anxiousness stirred in Miriam's heart. She remembered the tales of struggles and tribulations yet to come. "O Lord," she whispered inwardly, "what trials shall we face in this wilderness?" That night, as Miriam lay beneath the stars, she could not shake the feeling that the journey ahead was laden with challenges. The silence of the night echoed with a promise that transcended their circumstances, but also with a question that loomed larger than her fears. How would they face the trials that awaited them, and would they remember the faithfulness of the God who had led them to this very moment? "Behold," she thought, "for just as he delivered me, he will deliver this people." Yet the remnants of doubt lingered at the edges of her heart, for she sensed she was being called not just to sing songs of joy, but to walk steadfast through the coming storm, a storm that would reveal the true nature of their faith. In the quiet of the night, Miriam sighed, longing for assurance. "O Lord, what is your sovereign plan? What marvels lie ahead when doubts collide with the true breath of your promises?" In her spirit, the journey of faith was beginning anew, and she resolved to trust in the living God who had never turned his face from her. Her heart thumped in rhythm with the unfolding mystery of his will, and she felt a deep stirring, for the dawn of deliverance was on the horizon, ready to burst forth into existence. And so the journey continued toward the promises yet unseen. As dawn's light crept over the horizon, spilling golden hues across the encampment, the air was thick with expectation. The people of Israel awoke, their hearts still echoing with the songs of victory sung the night before. Yet a stark realization emerged in their minds. The path ahead would not be adorned with ease. Moses, guided by the Spirit of the Lord, gathered the elders of Israel before him. Their faces flickered with both joy and trepidation, reflecting the sunlight as it danced through the gathering. "Beloved children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob," he began, "prepare your hearts for the wilderness that awaits us. For the Lord shall test our spirits, and through these trials we shall become a holy nation, set apart for His glory." The elders nodded, their expressions betraying their thoughts of what untold struggles lay ahead. Miriam stood amongst them, stirred by a sense of great responsibility. She felt as though her very being pulsed with a reaffirmation of her purpose. She stepped forward, emboldened by the Lord's hand upon her. "Let us remind one another of the wonders the Lord has done," she proclaimed. "Even in hardship He is our deliverer, and in our weakness He shall exalt His strength." The people murmured their agreement, her words igniting the fire of remembrance within them. Yet even as her voice rang out, doubts flickered like shadows at the edge of her heart. Were they truly ready to face the unknown? Would their faith withstand the coming trials? Miriam's spirit wrestled with these truths, but a whisper from the Lord assured her that He was aware of all their fears. As the camp began to move, she caught glimpses of anxious faces around her. Young mothers clutched their babies, while fathers donned expressions of grim determination. In the distance, the expanse of the wilderness lay before them, vast and unforgiving. Then, suddenly, a cry pierced the air, a commotion at the edge of the camp. Miriam rushed to see what had happened. A man had stumbled into their midst, his face wild with fear. "Pharaoh's chariots approach," he shouted. "They come to reclaim you." A collective gasp rose from the crowd, their hearts gripped with panic. In that moment of despair, Miriam's voice rang out above the tide of fear. "Fear not, for the Lord your God is with us. He has delivered us from the hand of Pharaoh, and He shall not abandon us now." Moses, catching her spirit, raised his staff high. "Stand firm, O Israel, the Lord shall fight for us. Behold the salvation of the Lord." Together they turned their eyes toward the wilderness, where the dawn's light fell upon the waters of the Red Sea. As the dust of the chariot stirred in the air, Moses commanded, "Step forward in faith." With that, the people began to move, buoyed by hope as they approached the edge of the Red Sea waters. Miriam stepped among them, her heart a blend of fear and faith. In that moment, God began to move His hand. The waters of the sea rippled, responding to the authority of the Almighty. All around her, the murmurs of awe and disbelief transformed into fervent cries of worship. "The Lord is our protector," they proclaimed. With the chariots thundering closer, Moses stretched forth his hand, and the sea parted, revealing a path of dry ground. A miraculous act of divine intervention unfolded before their eyes. "Go forth, children of Abraham, yonder lies your way of escape." As they crossed the threshold of the Red Sea, Miriam's heart surged with both gratitude and realization. The God who had restored her was now leading them as a nation into uncharted territory. The path of redemption often threaded through perilous waters, yet it was here, between the shores of despair and deliverance, that their faith would be forged. But what lay beyond this miraculous crossing? Miriam could not quell the growing anticipation within her spirit, for she knew that although trials awaited on the other side, so too would the faithfulness of the Lord be revealed in ways yet unimaginable. And as the last of the people crossed to safety, she looked back at the encroaching waters. A question lingered in her thoughts, like the morning mist. How would they flourish in the wilderness? And what miraculous encounters would the Lord have for them as they journeyed toward the Promised Land? As the final footstep echoed upon the dry ground, the people of Israel turned to witness the great wonder. The sea, now towering like mountains on either side, held the history of their deliverance in its stillness. And as they dared to look back, they saw Pharaoh's chariots halted in the fury and confusion, their mighty force ensnared by the power of God. Moses, his countenance illuminated with divine authority, beckoned the Israelites to hasten their steps. We must not linger, for the Lord has set our course. Together we shall journey forth, leaving behind the chains of our oppression." His voice rang with assurance crystal clear. The people, invigorated by their escape, but weighed by uncertainty, pressed forward into the wilderness. With each step, Miriam listened intently to the whispers of her heart. Would they find sustenance in this desolate place? Would they grasp the richness of faith amid trials? Her prayers danced like the flames of their makeshift fires as the sun slipped beyond the horizon, casting darkness across the land. The first evening settled into a profound stillness. The twinkling stars adorned the endless sky as the people gathered around their fires, and Miriam rose among them once more. "Children of Israel," she called out, her voice a melody that broke through the veil of night, "let us sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and rider he has thrown into the sea." And as she sang with fervor, the other women joined her, their voices interweaving like threads of faith. A spirit of worship surged, and they danced, forgetting their fears, rejoicing in light of God's mercies. The wilderness echoed with their praises, a new song rising before the throne of heaven. Yet, as dawn broke over the following days, hardship slammed against their spirit like the relentless wind. The food supplies dwindled, and thirst parched their throats. In the face of adversity, complaint arose like a plague among the people. "Why have you brought us into this wilderness to die?" they lamented, doubt creeping into their hearts. Moses stood resolute, yet the weight of despair pressed upon him. He sought the Lord, and in his anguish cried out, "O Lord, what shall I do with this people? They are ready to stone me." Then the Lord replied, "Gather the people, and I will show you my glory. Tell them to look and see what I shall do. Behold, I shall rain down bread from heaven, and from this day forth they shall know that I am the Lord who provides." Exodus 16:4. Moses returned to the people, lifted by renewed hope. "At twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread. And you shall know that the Lord is your God." His declaration bore the hallmark of God's faithfulness. As night fell, the heavens opened, and quail brushed against the earth, a divine provision coursing through the camp. And when the morning light broke, the ground was covered with manna. The people gathered, awe painting their faces. "What is it?" they asked, as they beheld the bread of heaven. "Here in the wilderness, the Lord tests you," murmured Miriam, her spirit stirred. "He desires for us to trust in his provision. Let us take and eat, for he is our sustenance." Months stretched forth, painted with hardship and miracle. Yet Miriam, ever steadfast, became a voice of encouragement. She spoke to those who struggled, sharing stories of God's deliverance and holding their hands in prayer. With every challenge faced, growth nestled deeper in the hearts of Israel. They thrived in dependence on the Lord, learning the beauty of his promises. But amidst the currents of their collective journey, Miriam felt a flicker of unease swirled within her heart. What lay ahead in this wilderness? What would their collective identity become, forged in the fires of trial? Each review of their journey spun new layers of divine mystery woven throughout. For, in that sacred moment, she recognized, the wilderness is where God reshapes his people. Beyond that lay a revelation stirring with fulfillment yet to be unveiled. She pondered, what grander purpose does God have in leading us through this desolate place? In profound anticipation and reverence, Miriam whispered under her breath, "What shall arise from our trials? How shall his glory be revealed in our midst?" And it came to pass, as the days turned into weeks, that the people of Israel continued their march through the wilderness, the dust of their journey rising beneath their camp. The sustenance provided from heaven, manna and quail, was a daily reminder of God's providence, yet the people's hearts grew restless. Questions echoed in their minds like the whispers of the wind. Will this provision last? Is our future secure under his guidance? Moses, seeking to lead the people with firmness and faith, gathered them one day amidst the setting sun. "Hear me, O children of Israel. Tomorrow the Lord will command that we gather a double portion of bread, for it is the Sabbath, our day of rest." He instructed them, reminding them that on the sixth day they were to prepare that which they would eat. But a murmur arose among the people. Some scoffed, saying, "Why should we rest when we do not know what lies ahead?" Doubt clung heavy in the air, and a few ventured forth, testing the Lord's command. They searched for manna, only to find it gone. When they returned to complain to Moses, their faces bore the grim evidence of their disobedience. Moses, burdened by their actions, spoke gently but firmly. "How long will you harden your hearts? See, the Lord has provided for your needs. He desires your trust." His voice, laden with compassion, echoed through the camp as a reminder of their covenant with God. Then, on the Sabbath morning, the air stirred with the divine presence. As the sun broke over the hills, the dew shimmered on the ground, and the people emerged, eyes wide and hearts expectant. They beheld an overflow of manna, greater than before, and confusion flickered on their brows. "Is this yet another miracle, or have we miscalculated?" they pondered. "Miriam," said one of the women beside her, "come, let us gather. The Lord is gracious indeed." And as they gathered the heavenly bread, Miriam inhaled deeply, sensing the miraculous hovering in the air. "Truly, his mercies are new every morning," she declared, joining the chorus of voices praising the one who sustains. Yet, as they embraced their newfound hope, a shadow loomed over their hearts. Recently, Miriam observed her brother, the leader of their people, under heavy strain. Moses, with eyes weary from guiding them through trials, often sought the Lord with cries of desperation. The people's uprising against him had caused the weight of leadership to press down fiercely. Miriam approached him one day under the shade of a palm. "Brother, you labor tirelessly for this people. Do they not see God's hand moving before us? Shall we not speak words of encouragement amidst our trials?" Moses lowered his gaze, reflecting on the burden he bore. "I fear for their hearts, Miriam. Will they ever see the truth? Will they remain steadfast?" Just then a cloud descended, wrapping itself around them in a misty embrace. A voice, soft yet powerful, stirred the air, saying, "Behold, I am with you always." It was the Lord's assurance, a promise echoing through the ages. As days passed and the provision of the Lord continued, the people's hearts still teetered between trust and complaint. One day, a group of men sought to question Moses' leadership, saying, "Who made you ruler over us? Are we not equals? What makes you greater than any of us?" Miriam felt a surge of indignation rise within her. "Do you not see? The Lord has appointed him from the very beginning. Would you forsake the one chosen to lead you?" But her voice was drowned in the clamor of dissent. The people's chants grew louder, like a tempest threatening the peace of their encampment. And at that moment the ground trembled slightly, and a blinding light enveloped the center of the camp. A powerful presence manifested, silencing the angry murmurs in awe. "Moses is my chosen servant. He will lead you into the promised land," boomed the voice of the Almighty, reverberating through the hearts of all present and shattering the chains of doubt. As fear and awe danced together, Miriam's thoughts swirled. The wilderness had become a crucible of faith, forging their identities in a manner none had anticipated. But she felt a stirring prophecy rise within her heart, a promise of restoration and deliverance beyond measure. "Lord," she whispered fervently, "what shall this new path reveal?" And even as she spoke, a new understanding dawned within her. God was weaving their trials into a tapestry of glory, and she was but a thread in his majestic design. What lay ahead still beckoned in divine mystery, a revelation awaiting fulfillment beyond their trials. And it came to pass, following the manifestation of the Almighty's voice, that the people of Israel fell silent, each heart beating in unison with the tremors of divine authority that wrapped around them like a mighty cloak. Awe and fear intermingled as Moses, emboldened by the Lord's declaration, stepped forth to address the assembly. "Children of Israel," he said, his voice firm yet compassionate, "the Lord has spoken. You are a people chosen, a nation set apart. Remember this day, remember his promise, for he shall not abandon us in the wilderness." Yet even with Moses' words, a spirit of doubt wove through the camp, as the people exchanged glances filled with uncertainty. One among them, Dathan, with an insatiable thirst for leadership and recognition, whispered conspiratorially to his compatriots, "Are we to believe that Moses alone shall lead us? Where is the strength of our own voices? We must rise up." And the murmur grew, weaving among the tents like wildfire, igniting hearts towards rebellion. Miriam, witnessing the unrest, felt a heaviness settle upon her chest. "You men of Israel, do not be quick to forsake the God who has delivered us," she implored, raising her arms in a plea for peace. Yet her voice met a gale of discontent that swept through the camp. Meanwhile, Moses ascended the mountain to confer further with the Lord, leaving behind an encampment fraught with strife. In the solitude of the mountain, God spoke unto him, revealing his heart for the people, yet warning him of the spirits leading them astray. "They are a stiff-necked people, Moses," he said, "but fear not, for I shall remain with you." As the sun dipped low, shadows danced beneath the sky, and a great silence fell among the tribes. But dissent festered. Dathan and his followers, emboldened by their collective will, decided to enact a rebellion against Moses, proclaiming, "Let us select a leader who will take us back to Egypt. We shall not walk into uncertainty, but return to what was known." That night, fueled by their fervor, they crafted a plan, gathering unto themselves a following, inciting whispers of doubt and rebellion beneath the cover of darkness. Miriam, feeling the weight of her brother's leadership, sought to gather the women and children, urging them to pray, to seek the Lord amid the chaos. "Pray, O daughters of Israel," she called, her voice echoing across the tents, "for he who guides us shall indeed deliver us." And as they knelt in humility, a cloud hovered above the camp, pulsating with divine energy. As if in direct response to their pleas, the presence of the Lord came near, reminding them that he had never left. "Moses, return, for they have begun to turn their hearts away," God instructed, his tone a mixture of grief and fire. "Gather the leaders of Israel and bring them forth, for I will show them my might." With his heart full of trepidation yet assurance, Moses descended the mountain, carrying the tablets of the covenant, and feeling the weight of God's command upon his shoulders. When he reached the congregation, he saw the fires of discontent blazing, and heard the raucous voices of rebellion echoing into the night, filling his heart with the aching knowledge of their obstinance. "Enough," he cried out, raising the tablets high in the air. "You have seen his wonders. Why do you doubt? Do not forsake the one who has delivered you from bondage." At his words, an extraordinary spectacle unfolded before their eyes. The earth quaked, and a fire danced at the edge of the camp, as the glory of the Lord fell upon the people. In that moment, each one recognized the folly of their rebellion, and silence reigned once more as they beheld the God of their forefathers reflected in the eyes of Moses. What they had sought in their discontent now lay before them, the promise of a future delivered directly from heaven. Yet Miriam pondered deep within. "Is this the end of their trials, or merely a turning point in our story?" she mused, her spirit awakening to deeper understanding. For even as they humbled themselves anew before the Lord, the foundations of their faith were being tested. And so she silently prayed that they might yet discern the path ahead, for in the cradle of chaos an even greater miracle awaited, one that would shape their destiny and reveal the heart of God like never before. What lay ahead was still veiled in divine mystery, a challenge that would call forth the deepest faith and resolve as God's sovereign plan unfolded before them. And it came to pass, as the people gathered in awe before Moses, a hush fell over the multitude, broken only by the crackling of fires and the distant echoes of the night. The heavens were still, and the stars shone brightly, a testament to the covenant promises that God had made to their forefathers, promises they could grasp anew in their hearts. Moses stood firm, the weight of the tablets heavy in his hands, as he declared with authority, "Behold the glory of the Lord. He is the great I Am, who walks with us through the fire and leads us with an outstretched arm." The people trembled, recognizing the majesty that hovered near, their minds shifting from rebellion to reverence. Yet among the throng, Dathan's darkness lingered, seeking to stir the hearts away from their moment of repentance. "Do not be ensnared by this illusion," Dathan cried, his voice cutting through the sacred silence. "Where is this God that leads us as the clouds lead us? Can he not grant us sustenance here? Let us take matters into our own hands, for our strength is lost in this wilderness." His words ignited flames of discontent once more, and a division formed amongst the people. Some, their hearts turned by doubt, began to murmur discontentedly, while others clung to the faith ignited by Moses' bold proclamation, whispering prayers to the one who had delivered them. "Moses," Miriam implored, stepping forward, her countenance fierce yet softened by compassion, "do not allow division to rend our hearts. Speak again to the Lord. Plead for guidance, that we might know His ways in this desert." Moses turned towards her, the faith of his sister anchoring a peace in his heart. He then raised his arms toward the heavens, invoking the Spirit of the Lord. "O God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, grant us clarity amid confusion. Show us the path of righteousness and the abundance you promised." As he finished, a wind began to swirl around the congregation, gentle yet full of might. The skies above echoed with thunderous affirmation, and the voice of the Lord resonated like a river of dream. "I shall give you a sign, O people of Israel. Tomorrow you shall see my provision, and I will rain down sustenance from heaven, that you may know I am the Lord your God." A quiet joy surged through the women and children, their spirits lifted in anticipation. "His ways are higher than our ways," Miriam whispered, as she clasped the hands of those near her, the solemnness of their former rebellion still echoing in her mind. "But we must remain steadfast in our faith and trust." That night, as they lay under the starlit sky, a palpable tension hung over the camp. Miriam, restless in spirit, prayed deeply, calling forth the remembrance of the miracles spoken through generations. "O Lord, strengthen our leaders," she beseeched, "for they will guide us through the trials ahead. May their hearts be anchored in your promise." As dawn broke upon the horizon, the angel of the Lord descended like a cloud of glory, a multitude of angels fanning out into the camp to proclaim the new day. The people awoke to the sweet scent of heavenly bread filling the air, revealing miraculous provision like the dew upon the ground. A hush fell over the camp as Moses beheld the wonder, and he declared, "This is the bread of heaven. Gather it, O Israel, for the Lord has provided." The people moved forward, their faith renewed as they collected the manna, each piece symbolizing God's eternal faithfulness. Yet among the gathering joy, a whisper of truth lingered in Miriam's heart. What lies beyond this heavenly feast? Will we continue to strive and falter? For even in sights of glory, she sensed a deeper journey awaiting them, one that would draw forth the essence of their covenant. As they fed upon the bread of heaven, the spirit of faith sharpened, preparing the hearts of Israel for what was to come. For the Lord's plans remained veiled in glorious mystery, unfolding layers of His sovereignty, yet beckoning them ever further into the horizon of divine promise. And it came to pass on the morrow that the people of Israel gathered around Moses, their hearts lightened by the heavenly bread that had graced them. The sun cast its golden rays upon the camp, illuminating the faces of the faithful. Yet shadows flickered in the hearts of some. Dathan stood apart, stirring again the embers of discontent. With every morsel and each passing day, we are but slaves to our own hunger, he proclaimed, his voice drumming like thunder among the disheartened. Why not return to the life of servitude in Egypt, where our bellies were full? This wanderings in the wilderness leads us to naught but despair. His words fell like rain on dry ground, and murmurs rose again among the children of Israel. What of our freedom, they asked, for the taste of bitter past had begun to seep into their thoughts. Moses, burdened by the weight of dissent, turned to the Lord in prayer. O Lord, how shall I lead this discontented people? Their hearts stray even as you provide for their needs. He implored for wisdom, his weariness deepening with each passing moment. In that hour the Lord spoke, a voice reverberating in the depths of Moses' soul. Gather my people, for they must remember their story. Relate unto them the covenant made with their forefathers. They must behold the wonders I have wrought, that they might trust in my divine plan. Strengthened by this promise, Moses called unto the assembly, Hear, O Israel, remember your plight in Egypt, remember the heavy yoke of Pharaoh. Your cries ascended to the heavens, and he spoke the words of bondage. He spoke the words of old, of signs and wonders, of the blood upon the doorposts and the parting of the Red Sea. The people, stirred by the recounting of their salvation, began to quiet their discontent. Yet Dathan pressed on. You speak of the past, but hunger gnaws at the present. Wherefore is the abundance that was promised? Moses, driven by the Spirit, replied, Trust in the Lord. He is not man that he should lie. With every gathering of manna, remember his faithfulness. He feeds us daily, for our journey is not yet complete. Dathan's face darkened, yet some among the crowd nodded, their hearts turning toward the divine truths. Miriam, emboldened by the Spirit, stepped forward. Let us not forget that he leads us as a shepherd guides his flock. Each crumb of sustenance is a reminder of his love. We are his people, and his promises endure forever. With a renewed vigor, the people began to chant, The Lord is our God. He is the great I Am. Their voices rose, drowning out the doubts sown by the antagonist, lifting up praises unto the one who had led them through the wilderness. Yet, as sunset beckoned and the shadows lengthened, a chill settled over the camp. While many rejoiced, others still clung to fear. Miriam sensed a tempest brewing within the hearts of those who longed for comfort rather than trust. Look not only to the gifts of the Lord, she urged, but also to the giver himself. Our eyes must ever be fixed on him, or we shall surely stray. As the night enveloped the camp in its embrace, a deep stillness permeated the air. In the quiet, the Spirit of the Lord moved among them, reminding them of his favor, of the covenant bond forged in blood and promise. Yet, as resolve strengthened, Miriam felt the stirrings of uncertainty. What is the next trial to come, she pondered, knowing not the depths of the Lord's plan? What further test shall prove our faith? Little did she know that a confrontation awaited, one that would not only challenge their unity, but reveal the depth of their covenant journey, leading them ever closer to the heart of God's righteous decree. For much hung in the balance. A revelation of glory awaited those who would trust, and a warning beckoned to those who would doubt. What lay in store would unveil a tapestry of faith, divine purpose, and the unfolding of God's sovereign decree over his chosen people. And it came to pass that, with the sun rising like a beacon of hope upon the weary Israelites, the murmurs of dissent had quieted, but not extinguished. The camp was ripe for a new trial. The people, sustained by daily manna and quail, began to question not merely the provision, but the very path they walked. Moses, burdened by the weight of leadership, summoned the elders and cried out, "Gather round, for the Lord has commanded us to prepare our hearts and minds. The time draws near when He will lead us to the mountain of His glory, where we shall receive His holy laws." Yet, in their hearts, many wavered, fearing the trials to come more than the hope of a promised land. Miriam, keenly aware of the brewing discontent, rose among the assembly. "Fear not, O Israel, for the God who parted the sea is the same God who walks with us in the darkness. He desires our faith to be unwavering, that we may trust Him fully, even when the path leads us into the unknown." Her voice, imbued with divine authority, pierced through the veil of doubt, and the hearts of many began to spark with renewed hope. The undulating wilderness lay before them, a vast stretch of unknown where their faith would be tested. "Tomorrow we shall set forth towards Sinai," Moses declared, his voice steady like the morning sun. "Let our obedience echo through the mountains." And so, as the people settled into an expectant hush, the Spirit moved amongst them, weaving their hearts together in threads of faith anew. As dusk approached, Miriam turned her gaze upward, her spirit still longing for assurance. Would they embrace the promises of God, or would they falter? "Grant us unity, O Lord," she whispered softly, a prayer rising like incense. Suddenly, a cloud descended from heaven, cloaking the peak of Sinai in a veil of majesty. Thunder rumbled like a distant proclamation of divine might, and the people trembled in awe. "Prepare yourselves," Moses commanded, "for the Lord speaks." Days turned into nights, and the mountain trembled beneath the weight of heaven's glory. The Israelites gathered at the base, eyes wide with anticipation, yet hearts heavy with fear. The voice of the Lord thundered from above, filled with both love and solemnity, giving commandments that etched a covenant upon their hearts. "I am the Lord your God," He proclaimed, "who brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall have no other gods before me." Each word echoed like a hammer striking the anvil of their souls, forging a bond unbreakable between their Creator and His people. Miriam, standing among the throngs, felt the weight of the moment drawing them close to the holiness of God. Let us heed His words with hearts that open and ears that listen, for in His commands lies our life and our purpose. Is it not for love's sake that He guides us? The people nodded solemnly, their spirits drawn to the sanctity of the moment. The law was given, a beacon for their journey, a testament of His everlasting love and mercy. Yet, amidst this divine encounter, Miriam sensed the restless heart still beating within the camp. "But Lord, what of those who stray?" she pondered, her thoughts heavy. "Reveal to us the way to ensure our people embrace your glory and not slip back into doubt." Moses, after receiving the tablets, descended, his face radiant with the light of God. "Listen, O children of Israel," he cried, lifting the commands high. "These words are life to a weary soul. They are our covenant, a reminder of His steadfast love." But even as he spoke, Miriam witnessed a flicker of rebellion in the eyes of the discontented. Dathan, flanked by those still tethered to doubt, raised his voice. "Shall we walk this path forever? Who will lead us when Moses falters? Shall we not claim our own destiny?" "Folly!" Miriam exclaimed, stepping forth. "To doubt the Lord is to forsake your own very freedom. We stand on the brink of the divine." Yet echoes of dissent traveled through the crowd, sowing seeds of confusion. Moses, filled with righteous anger, addressed the tumult. "If God be for us, who can be against us? Remember the mighty works He has done. Do not turn back to the chains of Egypt, for he is our deliverer." In that very moment, the ground quaked, and the presence of God hovered like a brilliant flame. A response to their rebellion came in judgment, and Miriam gasped as the earth opened before them, revealing not only the consequences of sin, but the depths of God's mercy, even amidst discipline. "Even in trials, his mercy reclaims," she whispered, her heart breaking for her people, for she too had once slipped. "Let us cling to his hand, remembering that we are but dust. Forsake not the grace he pours out." The people stood, hearts heavy, yet understanding that God's love would still carry them through. As silence enveloped them, Miriam began to sing. "Our God is the great I Am. He lends strength to the weak and hope to the hopeless. Let his faithfulness be our anthem." As she sang, a spirit of unity swept through the camp. Hearts turned from rebellion and doubt, they joined her song, their voices intermingling in a glorious crescendo that ascended to heaven, a moment of worship ignited by the remembrance of God's unfailing love. And thus, through trials and divine tests, God's steadfast plan continued to unfold, teaching his people not through disdain, but through the folds of mercy wrapped in holiness. With the promises of God engraved upon their hearts, they embraced the journey ahead, each step a testament of faith, each challenge a reminder of his sovereign love. In that wilderness, Miriam knew the path was still shrouded in divine mystery. Yet resolutely she prayed, "O Lord, guide us in trust, for we are your people and you are our God." The days unfurled ahead, surrendering to the rhythm of the wilderness, one filled with trials, triumphs, and the undeniable glory of the Lord God. A sacred journey towards the Promised Land, written in the annals of eternity. As we reflect on Miriam's incredible journey and the journey of all believers, we invite you now. Do not allow the moment to pass you by. Subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories that can transform lives. Leave a like now to help us spread God's word through the algorithm. Your engagement is vital in reaching souls who seek His truth. In the comments, share your reflections on this powerful story and how it has impacted your faith. Your voice matters in this community of believers. And finally, don't wait even one more second to share this incredible testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear of God's truth and grace. Every click can change a life. Let's be doers of His word together.